Her voice shook as she asked a stranger a question no mother ever wants to ask. "Can we share your fries, sir?" She didn't know his name, his power, or his wealth, only that her son was hungry. What happened in the next few minutes would quietly rewrite their future and prove that a single act of kindness can echo for a lifetime. The boy's stomach growled louder than the traffic, and before she could stop him, he tugged her sleeve and whispered, "Mama, I'm still hungry." She felt her chest tighten, fingers curling around the last few coins in her pocket. Not enough for another meal. Not even close. That was when she saw the man sitting alone at the small outdoor table, tray of fries untouched in front of him, steam rising like a cruel invitation. She hesitated, shame burning her cheeks, then stepped forward because hunger leaves no room for pride. With a voice so soft it almost broke, she asked, "Can we share your fries, sir?" She had no idea that in asking such a small question, she was about to change the course of all their lives. The man looked up slowly. His eyes were sharp, observant, the kind that seemed to notice everything at once. For a moment, she wished she could disappear. She pulled her son closer, already preparing herself for rejection, for the familiar look of annoyance people gave when poverty came too close. But instead, the man smiled, not a polite smile, but one that reached his eyes. "Sit," he said gently, sliding the tray toward them. "They're better when shared anyway." Relief flooded her so fast she nearly cried. Her son didn't wait. He climbed onto the chair, eyes wide with wonder, carefully picking up a fry as if it might vanish. The mother murmured thank you again and again, her voice trembling, while the man watched them with an expression she couldn't quite place, curiosity mixed with something heavier as they ate. The city continued its noise around them, but their small table felt strangely quiet. The boy talked between bites, telling the man about school, about how he wanted to be an engineer one day so he could build things that don't break. The mother apologized for his chatter, but the man shook his head, encouraging him to go on. When the fries were nearly gone, the man asked casually, "Where's his father?" The question landed hard. She answered honestly, explaining how illness had taken him, how bills had piled up, how she worked 2 jobs but still came up short more days than she liked to admit. She expected pity. Instead, she saw respect. "You're doing something right," he said quietly. "He's bright and kind." Those words meant more to her than the food. When they stood to leave, the man slipped a card into her hand. "If you ever need help, call," he said. She nodded, unsure if she ever would. People said things like that all the time. As she walked away holding her son's hand, she glanced back once. The man was still watching them, his expression thoughtful, as if he'd seen more than just a hungry child and a tired mother. She didn't know that he was the founder of a global tech empire, a billionaire who owned buildings taller than the hopes she'd learned to keep small. All she knew was that, for a few minutes, a stranger had seen them, and that feeling stayed with her long after the fries were gone. Weeks passed. Life returned to its familiar rhythm of exhaustion and quiet worry. Then one evening, her son came home waving a paper from school, eyes shining. It was an invitation to a regional science program, one that cost more than she earned in a month. That night, she sat at the kitchen table, staring at the card the man had given her, fingers shaking. She didn't want charity. She didn't want to beg, but she wanted her son to have a chance. Finally, she dialed the number. It rang once, twice, then a familiar voice answered. "I was hoping you'd call," he said. Her breath caught. She hadn't even spoken yet. The next day they met again, this time in an office so grand it made her feel small. That's when she learned who he really was. Panic rushed through her, embarrassment flooding every corner of her mind. But he spoke before she could apologize. He told her about his own childhood, about nights when his mother skipped meals so he could eat, about how one stranger's kindness had once kept him from giving up. That day with the fries, he said, "I didn't just see hunger. I saw potential." He offered to sponsor her son's education. No conditions, no publicity, just help. She cried then, openly, unable to stop. Not because of the money, but because someone believed in them without asking for anything in return. Years later, her son stood on a stage, accepting an award for an invention that would change thousands of lives. In the audience, she spotted the man who had shared his fries all those years ago, clapping quietly, pride softening his features. Afterward, her son ran to him and said, "Remember when you shared your fries with me?" The man laughed. "I remember," he said. "Do you?" The boy nodded. "It taught me that small things can matter a lot." The mother watched them, heart full, realizing that the greatest wealth wasn't money or power, it was the courage to say yes when someone asked for something small. And somewhere in the endless rush of the city, another hungry child tugged at a parent's sleeve, another stranger sat alone with more than enough, and the quiet question waited to be asked, because sometimes a simple request can open a door to a future no one saw coming. Years later, the fries were just a memory. The kindness lived on in a young man's success, in a mother's unbroken hope, and in a billionaire who never forgot the day he said yes, because sometimes the smallest generosity feeds more than hunger. It feeds destiny.